Thank you very much for that. And a little bit about what Tim and I do. We are real estate agents. Everybody asks us, why do we do this? How do we do it? How do we help people? How do we get paid? So just to be clear straight off the bat, we are realtors and we get paid when we buy and sell real estate. So we provide this service free of charge. And the difference between what we do and other investment groups is we're straight up giving you the advice, good and bad, on investing in real estate. There is no fluff. We will tell you which strategies work, which don't, which take time, which are stressful. And we have to be honest with everybody. Investing in real estate isn't for everybody, and we know that. We're not here to push it on you. We're not here to blow smoke. We're definitely just here to show you what we've done. And best of all, we show you what our clients are doing today, so you can take note and see if it's for you. Anything to add to that, Tim?
No, we'll just get in for the new people out there what the Calgary Real Estate Investment Forum is. We'll go quickly for the people who already know about it. We created the Calgary Real Estate Investment Forum probably 6 years ago because we had been reaching out to other investment groups, and they've been reaching out to us to provide information on real estate investing to people in the Southern Alberta region. And we couldn't really find anything out there that gave the straight up goods on the returns you get on investment, the best kinds of investing in Calgary, and how to do a joint venture, how to raise capital. So we decided to create the seminar series, and every 2 weeks we provide a forum for everybody to to present this information to everybody. And well, when it was in-person meetings, we would have a great Q&A after it, and we'd be in the room for 2 hours after the seminar answering questions. But when we moved it to online, we still have a lot of comments and questions going on in the chat, which we try to answer all the time. But back to the Calgary Real Estate Investment Forum, we created it so that we could help investors in Southern Alberta.
Yeah, and so our aim is to give every investor we work with the exact tools that they need to be successful. It's as simple as that. We give them, we help them set goals. We work out how we're going to get there. And once we buy properties with our clients, we don't just leave them and hope they do the best. We're actually there giving them landlord training. Every investor that works with us goes through our landlord training. So they rent out the properties. It's a success. So that is our aim when we're working with our investors. We've written 2 books. One's called Fearless Real Estate. The other book is called 1 Million Reasons to Buy Real Estate. 1 Million Reasons to Buy Real Estate is a free download. And if you're new to investing, we strongly recommend it. That's why we wrote it. It's on our website, www.calgaryrealestatewealth.com. Download it so you can learn all about investing in real estate. And the other book gets into more detail. But once again, Tim's put up this slide, why are you here? And we always ask our investors, why are you here? Because you have to have a reason investing in real estate. I mean, all of the other programs, the American programs out there, they show you how easy it is. It is easy if you're doing it the right way and you're following a guideline to get you there. And like anything, you have to have a reason. Here are some of the reasons why our investors invest in real estate. One is to buy a bigger house, send the kids to university or better schools, go on more holidays, drive a nicer car, pay off debt, and more importantly, build wealth so you have a secure retirement. Now, all of these things are great, but what we've realized over the year, real estate can give you just having more options in life, like going to a hockey game or a football game and sitting closer to the sidelines, or ordering a better meal at a restaurant. Just these simple things, real estate can offer that. So we don't want to blow smoke anywhere, but it's definitely changed our lives, and it's changed our clients' lives over the years, and that's exactly why we do what we do today.
Yeah, and what we've realized, especially over the last 18 to 24 months of the pandemic, is that you really need a plan B. And for us, real estate is that plan B. We've seen so many people, especially in this province, lose their jobs that they've had for a long time in the oil patch. And, unless they had a good severance package or some money squirreled away in an RRSP or or another retirement fund, they're really left struggling. And, we found that some of them just have to sell their own house in order to carry on and living. So, we always try to get it through to people that even if you just had one rental property, there's a backup plan. And we'll go through the numbers of what that one rental property will do later on. But, like Azad said, is we try to make, all of our investors come away with $1 million in equity at the end of their investing game. Now, some of them go really gung-ho and, own quite a few properties. But, for the average investor out there, all it takes is about 3 properties, and then you're set up for a good retirement.
Yeah, and 3 properties, one of those could be including your primary residence. So that's what we've ran the numbers, we've ran the analysis on it. Having 3 rental properties or 3 properties in total will definitely change your life, and definitely most likely do better than the RSPs that you have today. So yeah, we'll keep going with this, Tim.
Yeah, so we'll get right into this market update. Just got to move some things around here. So looking at the Calgary market in the month of July, we're still seeing a really, really healthy increase over last year because we were still in we think we were just coming out of the first lockdown last year. As you can see right here, the monthly year-over-year change is 26.38%. And then if you go to the right-hand side of the screen and you see the year-to-date change, so that's 2021 up to now over 2020 up to now, that would be the first 7 months of the year. You see 105% increase in total sales. We feel that by the end of the year, we're going to be around a 75% increase year over year in sales volume. Those numbers are huge, yes, but we're also competing against the pandemic year where for a few months there, sales basically shut down. One thing we do want to look at is down at the bottom here is average price. You can see that for the month of July 2021 is only up just under 5% over 2020. And we're seeing that start to come down as well because year to date, we're at 10.33. So if you look at the Calgary market, and this pretty much applies to the Alberta market as well, we're not seeing these huge increases you're seeing in Vancouver and Toronto and even Montreal. They're seeing upwards of 100% increase in their average price in some areas. What we're seeing here is it's still very, very affordable to buy properties in Calgary. So, our investors that are taking advantage of it right now, they're getting some really, really good deals. And we're even seeing investors from Toronto come over here and start to buy condos. And we haven't seen people investing in the condo market in downtown in quite some years, have we, Azad?
Yeah, and last month we bought, not last month, 2 months ago, we bought a condo in Marda Loop with investors from Vancouver, and we did it all on FaceTime video, and they bought the property. So they're looking, these investors from other cities, they're looking at Calgary, and we have to be honest with you, Tim and I have been doing this for so long. The last 10 years have been pretty flat. We had one good year, which was 2014, and we are ripe to continue. All indicators are showing that Calgary is going to do very, very well within the next 3 to 5 years. And we're very, very excited for our investors. And we have to stress, and that's what this seminar is all about tonight, webinar, sorry, is all about tonight, is that not all properties go up the same in value. You have to pick the right properties. And Tim, we're finding it very hard. So talking about the market right now, yes, the market is active. We've done a record-breaking year for Calgary Real Estate Wealth, but we could have done way, way better because we're so selective on the types of properties we buy for our clients. And it's getting tougher and tougher. We're actually waiting for properties to come on the market as we speak right now for our investors to jump on. So we need to
it's hard to rein in some of these investors. Like they're really, really gung-ho to go out and buy a property. And they'll be sending us stuff that comes across the MLS. And they'll go, what do you think of this one? What do you think of this one? And we have to really slow them down. Sometimes, going too fast and picking the wrong property, you'll get into, something that's just going to be a money pit. And, we really have to make them slow down so that they're buying the right property. Because these numbers all look great and the increases look great and the vacancy rate's low and all that. But you still need to choose the right property if you want to gain cash flow. And that's what this seminar is all about, is how do you buy cash flowing properties? And where do you buy them and what do you buy them? So I see a question on here, what areas in Calgary to best purchase properties? Now, we will get into that. We've actually got to put up a whole map of the city, and we'll talk all about that. So just be patient. We'll talk about that in a minute. But like Azad said, you really have to be patient, even though there's a lot of properties on the market.
Yeah, someone's asking about types of properties as well. We'll get into that as well. No problem at all. But if you're working with us, other realtors, and we'll tell you this straight up, other realtors will take you around and show you a bunch of properties, and hopefully you fall in love with it. We're not doing that for you guys. What we're doing is we're selecting the properties. So we need to stress on that. We're buying properties. When we buy a property, the last one we bought in Bowness, which we're actually going over, I said to the client, I will buy this with you if you want me to. That's how good of a deal it is. So that's how much we believe in the assets we're buying for our clients. And we're putting our skin on the line every time. But by doing that, we're not shopping around. Like when we take our clients out, we're showing them 1, 2, or 3 properties max. And lately, I could tell you, it's been one. Like the one in Bowness, I rang one fellow to buy it. We did a FaceTime video, showed him the property, and he was just getting into the game and wasn't sure. And I said, that's okay. I'm going to show someone else. Showed another person, and he bought it straight away. So that's how we're working with selecting properties. When we find a good one, we're ringing our clients to say, who's buying this? Okay, Tim, we'll go to the next slide here.
Actually, what we're going to do now is we're going to bring Danielle DeMarco in, and she can give us a mortgage market update.
Awesome. Hey, Danielle.
Hello. Thank you guys so much for having me. So today I just kind of wanted to give a bit of a mortgage market update, and in light of the topic of conversation today, kind of touch on a little bit on the financing end of things when we're talking about cash flowing properties. So the Bank of Canada did recently leave the overnight lending rate the same again with no increase, which means good news for home buyers as interest rates continue to remain stable. So we're not anticipating any drastic increases in the near future. Where we're really seeing some great deals right now is actually on variable rates. So fixed rates are still strong. Don't get me wrong. They're hovering around the 2% range, under 2%, just depending on what we're buying and how we're buying a property. But the variable rates are low 1% range, mid 1% range, which is amazingly low. And the discounts off of the prime lending rate are huge. So when we're talking about investing, there's a few major factors that we need to consider with financing, depending again on type of property you're buying, your intent when you're purchasing the home, what your plan is for that property. So in line with tonight's topic, part of this depends on mortgage terms, mortgage rates, and things like flexibility. So variable rates are kind of what I want to chat about. Variables can offer really unlimited flexibility. You can lock in at any time without a penalty if rates start to increase, but you can also break the mortgage at any time with just a small 3 months interest penalty. And that's whether it be 5 days into the mortgage, 2 years, 4 years, it doesn't matter. It allows you to access an extremely low interest rate up front, which you'll see, when Tim and Azad are doing their cash flow analysis, interest rate, amortization, things like that all comes into play. So if we can access a low rate that has flexibility, that gives you options, to break a mortgage, convert a mortgage, do things with that mortgage down the road, depending on what you plan for that property, then it's something to consider. It can mean you can save on penalties, lower rates, things like that. So deciding on fixed versus variable isn't easy. It's a bit of a gamble, but historically rates will show that variables have outperformed fixed. So my advice for you guys tonight is just when we're considering mortgage financing, don't automatically rule out the variable rate, because it can play an important role in planning your financing strategy for investing. So that's kind of what I've got for you guys tonight. But as far as rates go, we, again, aren't anticipating any major changes or anything like that, remaining pretty stable on our end. So that's it, Tim and Azad.
Hey, thanks, Danielle.
Yeah, that's great news on that end. And we always take into account interest rates and where they're going. And Tim and I can tell you, we were investing in the days where it was 6-7%, on some of the B mortgages we had back in the day. And so we always just factor that in. And when we're buying a property, we're calculating definitely what the sweet spot is, where we're going to cash flow, what the property is going to look like. So we have to keep all of that into consideration when we're doing that. Once again, if you do have any questions, we do see a couple in there which we're going to get to. Put it in the chat, and if you're looking at us seeing Tim and myself not together, it's because I'm at Lake of the Woods, Ontario, and Tim is in his home office at home in Lake Bonavista, Vista, which they call God's country sometimes down there. So yeah, okay, Tim, let's get into it.
Okay, we'll jump right in, and we're going to go into the analysis part first, and we'll analyze. We'll show you how to analyze 3 different property types and what the returns we're getting right now. But before you even start your analysis, when you're looking for a cash flowing property, you need to take a lot of things into consideration, and you need to look at the stats and read all of the articles on the current market conditions in whatever city you're in. You have to realize what price you can afford. Are you in the condo market? Is that as high as you can go price wise? Can you afford to buy, multifamily like a duplex or a fourplex? Or are you just in the single family market? And another question you have to ask yourself is, how much cash flow do you want? Are you comfortable making $100 a month on each property? Or, are you looking for $300, $400, $500, $600 a month on each individual property? Well, if you want more cash flow, then you have to sort of get into different property types and look at different financing packages on each one of those properties. And also, before you start looking for a property, you need to know your exit strategy. What is your exit strategy? Are you just going to hold this property long-term, 25 years till the mortgage is paid out? Are you going to buy specifically for the lot that it's on so you can redevelop in the future? You can tear it down, or you can put up a duplex or a fourplex, or can you put a legal basement suite in the property? So you have to ask yourself all these questions and go through all of these factors before you even go out looking for a property. Then you'll have a general idea of what you want at the end of your investment, so you have a better idea of what you're looking for to begin with. Getting into the analysis part is, whenever you're looking for a property, no matter what property type it is, you have to, within your head, be analyzing. You will know how much mortgage you can qualify for, so you'll know what's happening on the cost side. What you really need to know is, what are the other costs? What's the tax range your property is going to have? Are there any repairs you can afford to do up front, or do you just want to buy a turnkey property where you just there's already tenants in it and you just carry on? There's all kinds of things you have to analyze when you're looking. And also on the rental side, the revenue side, what rental range do you want to be in? Obviously, if you're in a lower end neighborhood that's a little bit, the demographics are a little lower income, your rents are not going to be as high as they are if you are in some of the blue chip neighborhoods that we're looking at.
Yeah, perfect, Tim. So we want to stress a couple of things here, and that's why we're doing this seminar. First of all, some people who are starting off on a budget, say 350 and below, sometimes you don't want to get into condos, because condos will have that condo fee that will take away from your cash flow. Another thing is that we see sometimes it's okay to get a half duplex, because a half duplex, you have the possibility of buying the other half and then turning your half into a legal suite of property, maybe one day buying the other half, turning that into a legal suite of property, and now you have a fourplex. And we've seen values on fourplexes go from, say, picking up each side for $350 a side, and then once owning both sides, making it legal, it could be worth close to $1 million. So starting off small, making sure the property's cash flow, that is key. Okay, and we always say this, if you read our books, I know our members who do our course know this for sure, we drill it into them, that once you have to pull money out of your back pocket and put it into your investment property, your days are limited or numbered of being an investor. So you have to have cash flow. You should be putting aside at least 3 months worth of costs to that property aside. So if anything does happen, you at least have those funds in place. A few other things that people come to us and always ask us, should we be investing in the States? I mean, if you're investing in the States, I don't know what the dollar's at. Is the dollar at, Tim, around 80 cents right now? I'm just guessing. I haven't looked for
Yeah, the Canadian dollar was rallying for a bit there, but now it's starting to slow down a bit. But
so
look at it over the years, you know, Canadian dollar is always probably 80% of the American dollar. So you're giving up 20 points right away by buying something down there.
Yeah, so we have to stress that as well. Is there good cash flowing properties? You have to remember that if you're investing in areas that are cash flowing, guess what? Typically, they're not appreciating as much as other areas. So we need to stress that. Now, not all the time, but we could tell you Calgary has a great balance where you can cash flow, and the appreciation that we're predicting over the next 3 to 5 years is over $100,000. So if you could pick up a property and you know you're going to get that appreciation, it's just win, win, win all day long. Another question we always get is on vacation properties. I was looking over a fellow's portfolio the other day. He asked for some advice. He owns something in Canmore, and we could tell you if you own something out in Canmore, Invermere, anywhere where there's vacation properties, I guess, you can only really rely on 50% vacancy. So you have to really, really run your numbers. And 9 times out of 10, Tim, that we've seen is that they're not cash flowing at the end of the day. So
yeah, unless you have a piece of property like that's oceanside or on a lakefront or very, very, very desirable real estate, you're not going to make enough cash flow to cover your costs unless the property is paid off. And for most investors, you know, they want to spread the risk, so they're going to get a mortgage on the property, so they're not, you know, 100% owner on everything they own. Because if you have that much cash, then you know there's larger opportunities to invest in than a single family home or a single vacation home.
Yeah, so we just want to stress that on the vacation properties. Sometimes you want to delay that gratification and invest somewhere where you're producing enough cash flow to allow for that negative outcome on your vacation property. So we want to stress that. Someone has a question here. George has a question. Cons buying a condo versus a rental property. Now, I own both sets of classes there. And I can tell you, condos are definitely awesome. You don't have to really be there to maintain anything around the property, just anything inside your property. But the most stressful thing about owning a condo is the condo fees and special assessments. Now, special assessments, if there's elevators in the building or there's a concierge or once you have a pool or a fitness center, we could tell you those condo fees just keep going up. Okay, and the other thing about condos is that when you buy brand new, the condo fees are always lower. Okay, you'll see them set, Kim, we normally see them set around $280 all the time, right? Something manageable.
Yeah.
And then 5 to 7 years later, we've got many, many clients. We could tell you like Union Square. Michelle's got her condo in Union Square, and we could tell you it's only 10 years old and the condo fees are above $600. So it doesn't matter how good it looks. And while I'm talking about developers, don't get me started on rent credits. Okay, if you're buying a property in the outskirts of Calgary, the developers are offering rent credits right now. Rent credits mean a guaranteed rent for the next 3 years. So what they do is they'll rent it out at $1,500 and tell you that it's being rented out at $1,800 and just credit the $300 every month. They will do that because they'll just add it to your purchase price. Okay, but at the end of the day, when you get the property back and there's no more rent credits or guaranteed rent, you're on the hook. And we have to stress this because we get people calling us all the time on new builds, half duplexes that are brand new, and we're talking like 800 square feet suited properties. There is no way that they're going to rent for $1,000 or $1,200. The max you're going to get on that, if you can get it rented at all, is about $850 out in places like Walden or Skyview or all these new communities that are popping up right now. So don't get caught up on guaranteed rents out there.
Yeah, so we'll jump right into our first analysis. We've got questions about condos in the chat. So this is an active listing. It's in the Vetro building in the Beltline. It's actually, you know, half a block from the Stampede grounds and half a block from the LRT station at Stampede, which is currently going to go through a redevelopment. So 17th Ave is going to run right across the tracks into the Stampede grounds, and they're trying to make a real pedestrian district with restaurants and pubs and stuff along 17th Avenue going all the way to the Stampede. But you notice the hot spot of it is, further west of the Stampede grounds, but the city wants a lot of redevelopment on the east side of the street there. So this condo, the list price is $299,900, and we figure you can buy it for $290,000 with a 20% deposit down. That's $58,000. So your mortgage amount will be $232,000. Today's rates at 1.99%, 25-year term, you're looking at $981 payment. These are actual numbers, by the way. The tax is $143 a month, insurance $50. We put in some maintenance there at $85. I mean, there's not much to maintain on the inside of these units. The building's 10 years old. So you're looking at a little kitchen, a couple of bathrooms, and some carpet. You don't really have a lot of maintenance expenses coming up every single month. Vacancy rate, we put in 1 month every 2 years, and the condo fee is $417. Now for a building of that size with that amenities, I mean, there's a gym in there, there's a theater room, there's a lot of common area. $417 is a very reasonable condo fee for a 10-year-old building. Normally we see, like as I said, that jumps up to around $600 a month after 10 years, but this one's been well maintained. So your total expenses for the month are $1,716, and the investors that own this place, they actually had it rented out for $2,200 a month. Now, we always put in conservative numbers on the rent side, so we're putting in $1,900 a month. And with that, your monthly cash flow is $184 a month. This is one number that a lot of investors sort of focus on all the time, is your monthly cash flow. Well, on a small unit like this with a one single rental source at a very conservative rent, $184 a month is good. And if you add on the extra $200 that you could get in boom times, you'd be making a lot of money. And this is with your initial mortgage. Now, over time, your mortgage is going to get paid down, and your mortgage payment is going to go down quite a bit. So what we're going to see is over time, your cash flow is going to grow. But just off the bat, your first year, your return on investment, your annual return, your cash on cash is 29%. And we analyze properties day in and day out. And to get an annual return around 30%, that's a lot better than you're going to get in the stock market. Azad, you can talk a bit more about condos like this because you actually own one. So
yeah.
The benefits of owning a condo, you can tell people that.
Yeah, awesome, guys. So I know Joel's got a question there. Don't you pass on all the fees to the tenant? You can't. The tenants are on a fixed lease. You can only rent out your condo for the going price in that area. So for 2-bedroom, 2-bathroom condo rents for $1,800, $1,900, $2,000. That's generally what you're going to get, unless you put furniture in the property, or unless you do something a little different. But just a little bit of information about the condo market downtown. Someone's asking, what's the pros and cons of buying new compared to old construction? The older construction, generally, they're bigger units. They're not building them as big anymore. And yeah, you will cash flow up front on the newer units, but I could tell you I have tenants that are going into my property because it's an older unit, and they're getting more size for the same price. So that doesn't always work. And what's really cool about the condo market in Calgary, well, next time you're driving through downtown Calgary, there's no cranes in the sky. So what you have to remember is that there's going to be a lag, and we're talking a 3 to 4 year lag in construction. So we're very excited because the condo market has been terrible. We mean terrible for the last 10 years. When we say terrible, condos went from, like, we just bought a condo the other day, so it's a good time to get in, and that's what Vancouver investor did the other day. We bought a condo that was sold in 2014 for $460, and we picked it up for $380. And now we had no problem buying it for this investor because we know those prices are going to come back. But at the same time, Tim, it's like this property, it's going to cash flow very, very little. So what's going to happen in Calgary, this particular unit we have on the market right now, This particular unit in Toronto or Vancouver would sell over $750,000 for the same size, same square footage, same views, same condo fees, if not more condo fees there. And we're selling it for $290,000. So when you look at $750,000 to $290,000, it's a no-brainer, guys, that this condo market is going to jump. If not 50,000, 100,000 now. It may take 3 years, it may take 5 years. I have no idea. But all indicators are showing that we're going to get a nice growth spurt in Calgary. And it is very good time to get into the market, but you have to be very, very selective on the building you're getting into. And when I say selective, we love the blue chip areas. I know our members out there that are online tonight, they know what the blue chip areas we talk about. I can share with some of you tonight. We love areas like Marta Loop. We love Lower Mount Royal. We love Kensington. The reason why Bridgeland's another one, Banksy's a bit hit and miss because there's a lot of older product in there, but these areas have height restrictions. So you'll never see high rises like this. When you have high rises like this in the Beltline or in Victoria Park, it's going to be softer. Like prices are going to be softer for some time. Where in those blue chip areas where you can walk to pubs, restaurants, Starbucks. We always laugh if there's a Lululemon in there somewhere, like in Mission. Those people that live around those areas, they have money. They're young kids, and normally you see them in their Lululemon drinking Starbucks. That's where you want to buy because those prices are going to continue to go up. It might sound funny to you guys, but we've seen it time and time again. But we're very, very excited. For the first time in 10 years, we could tell you we're very excited for the condo market.
Yeah, there's a question in the chat here. Would you rather buy an older townhouse in good shape, Braeside, Glamorgan, Glenbrook, or a newer condo in Copperfield, New Brighton, and Seaton? I'll talk to the newer ones in the new neighborhoods like Seaton, New Brighton, Copperfield, Evanston, Sage Hill, Skyview Ranch. The thing about those condos is when you drive to those newer neighborhoods, you'll see all the cookie cutter houses, and then the outsides of the neighborhoods are around the shopping areas. You'll see these 5-6 story buildings, and there's hundreds and hundreds of them. And the problem with that is basically supply. You're competing with a ton of other investors, and there's not really that many employment opportunities out there right now. Now, in the future, especially down south around that new hospital, when they build all of the infrastructure around there, there's supposed to be all kinds of retail and more office buildings. It'll be a really, really good employment center, but it's still years and years and years away. And they're building the townhouses and the condos first. So you're going to have a lot of lean years as an investor if that's your primary focus on investing is buying those type of units. And you're going to have a lot of competition. And the thing that you're going to have to do is pick a unit that has something special about it so you don't have so much competition. Make sure you get a 2-bedroom with 2 full baths, or you have an outside unit that has some sort of a view, whether it's view of the mountains or a plain view, and you're not looking at another building across the street. So you have to get something to differentiate your unit from someone else or some other investors. And we do have a few investors that have bought down there. They go into the sales centers when these things are being put up, and the salespeople back there, they just talk cash flow all day long. But then when the things are built and you actually have to put tenants in there, you find that your rental numbers don't reflect the numbers that they told you when you were in the sales center. So it wouldn't be our first choice, but if that's the only place that you want to go, you have to find something about those units that differentiate it from all the other units.
Yeah, and Nolan and Jack have some cool questions here. Nolan, first of all, what did we say about the condo in the Beltline? The biggest thing that scares me about the Beltline, Nolan, is that word Tim just used. And any investor has to understand this because this is what controls the market on price and rental rates, okay? And that word is supply. And what's going on in the Beltline is most of the buildings that are being built, the last crane in the sky right now is on 9th Avenue. I know because I drive down every day to go to the office. And they're 2 towers. They're the West End towers that are going up. I don't know how many condos are in there, but they're all rental units. So if you have an apartment to rent in those areas, in the Beltline, sorry, let's talk about the Beltline. If you have an apartment in the Beltline and you're competing against 300 units coming on the market, right, to your unit, it's going to be hard to rent out, which means rental rates are going to be soft. And Jack, just to answer your question on the 1900, that's what our investor who owns this property, they live up in Edmonton, lovely people, they own a whole bunch of properties. That's the rental rate they were getting on this unit. So Jack's doing the right thing. So when you are looking at properties, the first thing you should be doing is going on Rent Faster. I don't know if I would trust Kijiji or Facebook, but that's what the young kids are doing these days. But I would go on Rent Faster and look at the average rents in those areas and compare apples to apples. And we need to stress this. You cannot compare, and just to Marin's question here, would you rather buy in Glenmorgan, Glenbrook, or would you buy a new unit? It doesn't matter where you buy. If you buy a piece of garbage, it's always going to be a piece of garbage. Like, we've seen people buy rental properties and we're like, what the hell did you buy this for? And one of them, Tim, was in New Brighton. I can talk about it. She bought it off the plan, pre-construction. We went down. She wanted to sell it because she was moving to Nova Scotia or something. And she's like, Azad and Tim, what can you get from my property? And we went out on the front deck. And Tim, what was?
Oh no, that was in Mackenzie Town, behind the Shoppers Drug Mart.
Yeah, and not only behind the Shoppers Drug Mart, it was facing the loading dock. So could you imagine having your morning coffee, right, and a truck beeping backwards to load up the Shoppers Drug Mart? We have to stress, if you're looking at rental properties on Rent Faster, you have to compare apples to apples. And if you're picking an investment property, it has to be appealing. There's a number of things. We do a whole seminar on picking it. And this is why our clients, I could tell you, we've got about 12 buyers right now that we can't even buy anything for because we don't like what's on the market. We just won't do it. We're only buying properties that we know we're getting the exact rents we're telling them, if not better. And the appreciation is going to be there as well. So then it's win-win. They go on to buy more properties and it's a success. As soon as you get a dud property, and I have to tell you about maintenance. Like, we factor in maintenance in there. If you don't maintain a property, we always say this, if you've read our book, Fearless Real Estate, if you haven't, it's a must read. I mean, you're getting into $1 million business here. Every investor that works with us, our aim is to create $1 million worth of equity for them over the next 3-5 years, or put them on track to get that equity. And if you don't maintain your properties, we always say rundown properties produce rundown tenants. It's as simple as that. If you don't do the work, and it takes work. That's why we say investing in real estate isn't for everybody. But if you're willing to put the work in, and how much work is it, Tim? It's less than 2 hours a month, okay, depending on how many properties you own, of course. But it's very, very little time. You get the right people in there, you look after your properties, and it'll be win-win for everybody. We can tell you our clients are doing it day in, day out.
Yeah, and when Azad says do the work, he doesn't mean, go out and learn how to be an electrician and learn how to be a plumber. But you have to know what state your property's in, and then if it becomes in a state of disrepair, either you got to know how to repair those things yourself, or you got to know somebody, a contractor, or a plumber, an electrician, whoever. You need to know someone who can repair it for you. So when Azad says work, it means getting the work done. And you have to stay on top of it. That's one thing we always stress when we go over our landlord training with our new investors, is that maintain the property, because if it goes down, your tenants are going to go down. So people, just think of what the state of a property that you would want to live in. You wouldn't want to live in a dump, so don't let your tenants live in a dump, because tenants are people and we got to treat them like people.
Quick couple of questions. One from John. Hey John, how's it going? How much furniture? John, we just got to make sure, once again, if you're in the Beltline and there's a lot of furnished properties for rent, is it really going to do anything? But we've got clients. We've got one lady, Barb, she might be on the call right now. She, as a full-time job, she runs 3 of her properties through Airbnb. It's like she runs 3 Airbnbs, furnish these properties, and is producing an income out of it. Like, that's her life. So can it change? We've got a favorite saying in one of our books there, Tim, if you're not cash flowing, you're not trying, right? So, but how much time do you have? I know, John, you're a working professional, so how much time do you have? And is furnished properties really going to do it right now? We would have to check on the market to see what that's doing. And there was another question, if you have 2 or more properties, do you have to incorporate? Actually, you don't have to incorporate at all. And we want to debunk the myths out there. You should incorporate. We actually tell our investors that they shouldn't incorporate in the beginning. You need to be earning roughly more than $3,000 a year to be cash flowing to form a corporation. Why do we tell you that? Because as soon as you form corporations, and we've seen other investment groups tell their investors to form corporations straight away, it's expensive to do, and it's expensive every year to do. So we would rather you make the money, and when you're making the money, then incorporate. So no, you don't have to do it after 2 properties. And all we do later on with our investors is we roll all the assets into your corporation. We set it up properly so that if you have kids, they're involved, they're shareholders. There's a lot more that goes into it. If you've been to our accounting seminar, or I know our members have access to our investor program where you can watch the accountant go over step by step on how to do that. That's a whole nother seminar. Tim, I don't know if we should go to the next slide or keep going with questions.
Yeah, we'll go to the next slide and maybe answer some questions then. Okay, so the next property that we analyzed here was a half duplex. It's legally suited, so the owners actually went through the whole process to legalize the suite. The list price was $339,900. The actual purchase price was $342,000. I say estimated there, but it was actual. It went into competing offers, and the investor that bought it paid $342,000. Deposit 20% down, $68,400. So the mortgage amount is $232,000. And going through the numbers quickly, the mortgage payment $1,157, taxes $1,184. The insurance is $125, a little bit more than a condo. Maintenance, we put it at $200 a month, which is because this property was very, very well maintained. That's why we're at $200. Vacancy again, 1 month every 2 years at $96. So your total expenses $1,762. Now this place is rented, completely rented, $1,400 up and $1,900 down. The tenants are paying utilities over and above that, so the owner doesn't have to worry about the utilities right now. So the monthly cash flow here is $538 a month. Now this is great cash flow, and if you look at the purchase price, which is around $340,000, and you're cash flowing over $500 a month, to us, this is a great investment all day long. And the previous owner went through the trouble of legalizing the suite, so you're never going to get shut down. We know it's in Bonus, but a property like this, these are the ones that, you know, we suggest to our clients, just tuck this one in your back pocket, hold it for the long term, try and buy the other side, because when you're making this kind of cash flow, it's going to be a win-win all day long. And our cash on cash return is almost 40% on this property. So this kind of property, if you can find something like this, you know, it's a must buy.
So Danny's just got a question. Why is there 2 years, 1 month over 2 years? Danny, I could tell you the properties we're buying our clients, we're aiming for 0 vacancy. So Tim's even being nice there, putting 1 month over 2 years. But anyway, your property should be, if you're buying the right properties, it should be 100% rented all the time. If you're following our landlord system, the tenant should be giving you the exact notice you need, and you should be showing your properties. For example, this property here, to give you guys a bit of a background, I think 3 weeks ago, Tim, it was a Friday afternoon. I was trying to get home for happy hour with the boys, and I said, Tim, I just got to stop into Bonus, check this property out before I go home. I went over there, I walked through, I couldn't believe it. I was like, this thing is awesome. It's legally suited. We can get it for $342. Let's do it. This is the property. I rang 2 clients and showed them both. One of them pulled the trigger straight away. We bought it. He had possession 3 weeks later. 1 week before possession, I went down and we did an open house for tenants. And I was there showing the property with our investor to help pick the right property. So, and there was a lineup of tenants outside of this property wanting to rent it for. He's already rented, he just took possession on last Friday, And on Friday, sorry, it's already rented the basement suite, and he's deciding on the upstairs tenant. He just wants to be really careful who he picks, because once again, when you have a suited property, you have to play matchmaker. We stress on this. You have to make sure the downstairs guy, and ideally you only want 1 or 2 people in each suite, and you don't want loud dogs. I mean, he rented the person downstairs who was a handyman. He works for a renovation company, a single guy, lives in the area that property's being sold, and he just wanted to find another property. He has a cat, so he got extra rent for that. And the owner met the neighbors and wants to really get a nice person upstairs, so the neighbors are happy as well. And he's working on that right now and should be signing it up. So when we're buying properties, we know they're going to be rented straight away. And I think the numbers are actually even going to be better than what we've got on this slide here, just because of the pet deposits and rents that are going into play. But once again, if you're in a price range, and trust me, and I said this to the investor that bought it, a year ago, Tim, would you say we wouldn't be putting people in Bowness? But Bowness all of a sudden has massive infrastructure going in. They've got a new superstore going in where the Sunnyside, what do you call that? The plant market, Tim, was there. The garden center, that's all going to be a superstore and some other offices around there. You've got a farmer's market going across from COP. You've got the whole town. Bowness used to be a town, and the whole street is being pulled up and they're redoing, repaving. And you've got some wonderful new businesses going in Bowness. So it doesn't matter where you buy. This street is a beautiful street. It's across from the school. You can't see the school, but you see the park, which is beautiful. It's a few blocks from the river, so you can go down and enjoy the river. It's not in the flood zone, and it's not near low-income housing. This is what we have to stress. Okay, it doesn't matter if you're in Glenbrook, Glenmorgan, anywhere, right? Even Wildwood has it. If there's low-income housing and you're facing it, your property's not going to appreciate like other properties. And what I love about this property, you guys can take down the address. I know some of you go on and Google stuff. Behind it is 3 brand new infills that get sold roughly, Tim, they go on that we've seen. Between
700,
750, around 750, I would say, yeah. So that's what's going on. We've already talked to the next door owner to say, hey, when you're thinking of selling, do you mind letting us know? Because could you imagine owning this fourplex, under 700K, and later one day putting up either a new fourplex that would probably sell when you go to do it 600,000 a piece. You'll make about 100 grand off each one. That's what our investors doing. Or you build 2 infills for 1.5 million and make even more money. So there's serious money to be made off these little things. And guess what? This guy is getting paid $500 per month, plus the mortgage is getting paid down every month, right? And you could look at the total return here. He's getting paid today just to make money later on. And they're the types of properties we want to buy for our clients.
Okay, we had a couple of questions in the chat about vacancy. Someone was asking, what's this vacancy fund for? Let me talk a little bit about vacancy here. When we put these numbers into the analysis, this maintenance number, this vacancy number, basically they're our estimates of what you're going to have to pay year over year over here for vacancy and for maintenance. Now, there will be years go by that you can own a rental property. You may go 2 years go by that you didn't have to spend a single cent on on maintenance. And you may have it, totally rented for 5 years in a row. So basically what that does, that adds to the cash flow of those years. But we put the numbers into our analysis just because, there are times when if your property is vacant, people are saying, well, you didn't add the vacancy into your analysis. Well, we'll add the numbers in there. But like Azad said, is we're trying to find tenants and maintain the property so it's not vacant. Now, you may, after 5, 6, 7 years, want to keep it vacant for 1 year because you want to spruce it up a bit. You want to paint the walls and put some carpet in. But that's a choice you're going to make as a landlord. So these numbers right here, they're not set in stone, right? They're just numbers in an analysis so that you have a good idea of how the numbers are going to perform on your property year over year over year. Now they're going to change every year. Your mortgage payment, will change when you refinance. The taxes it's Calgary, right? I mean, the taxes are going to go up every single year. Maybe not now that Nancy's gone, but they're going to go up every year. Your insurance is most likely going to go up every single year by a few dollars. So these numbers are going to change. This is just a basic first analysis. And every investor has to do one before they purchase a property, so you know what you're getting into. You know you have the potential to cash flow. I had another question from Bruce. Bruce said his property has been rented for 2 years. He doesn't know what the vacancy rate is. The vacancy rate that you see published in the newspaper generally comes from the Calgary Apartment Association. These are the large landlords that own a lot of rental units, maybe in the downtown core and the bigger buildings. So they report their vacancy rates to the CMHC and publicly. So that's basically what the news media takes as the vacancy rate. So Calgary may say it's 7% right now, or whatever the number is, but they're not gathering information from the little investors like everybody on this call. Because Azad, have you ever had a phone call from somebody in authority asking how many vacancies you've had? No. So vacancy rate in investors like us basically relates to how well you manage the property. You know, you can look at the vacancy rate for a region and sort of compare your own vacancies to that. But if you're buying good properties in good neighborhoods and you get good tenants, your vacancy rate is going to always be lower than what's posted.
Yeah, and we're aiming to get the property rented before you own it. So like this property, the basement suite was rented. The owner's taking his time on choosing upstairs tenant, which is fine. And 9 times out of 10 these days, all year long, we've had a lineup of tenants to choose from. And Danny's got a question here. Do we watch out for different management companies? Danny, I can tell you, we have doctors, we have Air Canada pilots, we have single mothers. When they buy through us, our aim is to train them on becoming a successful landlord. They go through our program, and to tell you the truth, it's the easiest thing to do. It's a people's business. You choose the right people. We show our clients how to go through with their gut feeling, do the background checks, and they manage them themselves. I mean, a management company is going to cost you $100, $200 a month, where you could use that money and go on a vacation. So that's what we aim for. And at the end of the day, if someone's really too busy to do it, once you've got tenants in there, there's nothing to do. Once you select bad tenants, there's a lot to do. We want to stress that. Okay. Just quickly, Devang has a quick question about buy levels. Hey, if it needs a suite or it's got a suite and it's not legal, you have to make it legal, and or it's not a legal suite. Once it's a legal suite, yes, you can charge extra rent. Normally, it's probably around $50 to $100, but you're not making it legal to charge extra rent. You're making it legal to sleep better at night and making sure your tenants are safe. We always do that, and when we legalize our suites, we're seeing values go up 30, 40, 50, even $60,000 in some cases once they're legal. And we've legalized properties for as little as, I think Mark Chalk, Tim, holds the record. If he's on the call, he legalized his basement suite in Inglewood for $2,500. Some of the things you need to do to make a legal suite is bigger windows, smoke detectors, some drywall sometimes, and there's a bunch of other things that we have to go through.
Back to Danny here. He was talking about the condo board that like the management company that manages the condo. For us, when you're buying in a big condo building like that, that actually has a management company running the condominium corporation. Most of the companies that are in the bigger buildings in Calgary are very, very reputable. We haven't really seen any that raised red flags that have caused us concern, because they have to be licensed with the Real Estate Council of Alberta as well, just like realtors and property managers and appraisers. So if they are a licensed property management company, you generally don't have any problems with it. What you really want to pay attention to is which of the residents in the building are on the board. Because what we've seen is some residents that want board decisions to go their way, they will get themselves elected onto the board as, the president or whatever, and they will make changes to, the existing condo regulations that benefit them. And you see that when condo fees are kept, too low for too long. And these buildings don't have a large enough reserve fund. So if something extraordinary did happen, like a roof on the whole building needed to be replaced, or balconies need to be replaced, and there's not enough money in the reserve fund. So if you're really, really concerned about that, then you got to get on the board yourself. But owning a condo means you also have to pay attention to what the condo board's doing and what the management company is doing. So there's a little bit extra work on your part on that, because you don't want all of a sudden have a special assessment come up because there was some crook on the board taking the money. So, we don't really have anybody that we're very concerned about right now, but you should be paying attention to what everybody's doing there.
And just quickly on that, if you are seeing self-managed buildings out there, normally they're 12 to 14 or 10 to 14 or less units in size. Be very, very careful of self-managed units. Sometimes the reserve funds aren't big enough. And sometimes CMHC will not insure them. So you have to put 20% down. We just want to stress what we've seen out there in the market over the years. So yeah, we'll go to the...
Yeah, so the next thing we're managing here is a suited property in Acadia. Now, we love these kind of properties. We buy them all day long. Our clients make tons of cash flow off of these properties. This is sort of an example of what you're going to see on the market and what's good to get into price-wise. So the estimated purchase price on this one, based on its condition, is $450,000. So the mortgage amount will be $360,000. The mortgage payment $1,523, taxes $257, insurance $150, maintenance again $200, vacancy same vacancy rate we use for everything $113. Rents up and down, they're reasonable because the upstairs guy gets the garage. $1,600 downstairs, it's $1,100 because it's a very nice suite. So that's $2,700 a month. Now this one doesn't cash flow as much as the half duplex, but you're going to get more on the appreciation side. Being in as Azad says, a blue chip community like Acadia, the only thing we would recommend on this property is to legalize that suite. You can see up at the top in the little picture there, they've already cored out a window. So we were estimating legalization on this property would be under $10,000, and we would recommend it all day long, just to give you peace of mind and to give your tenants peace of mind.
Yeah, so when you're going to legalize or do any fixes to a house when you buy it, we always recommend mortgage plus improvements. It is a little work on our end. We have to get our contractors in to give a quote. That quote, and then basically you can borrow those funds so it's not coming out of your own pocket. We do that, Tim, we've been doing that all year long. 9 times out of 10, we're doing mortgage plus improvements if we have to make a suite legal, so our clients aren't using their own money. Now, this is a perfect amount that you see, $450,000. Once you get over $450,000, if you're putting 5% down, you might be asking, how do you put 5% down? The rule is you have to move into it. That is the rule. You have to have the intention to move into it when you go to the lawyers, and you could move into the upstairs suite and rent out the basement. And we do this with our move up program. If you haven't watched our YouTube channel called Crew TV, you can Google it. We've got young kids. There's a great little show on Connor, who moved into a place into Ogden, and he put money down. He put a little bit more money down, but he's basically living for free in his own property because he lives in the basement and rents the upstairs out to cover his costs. So we love this with the young kids. We wish we were doing it when we were younger. And now Connor's already at such a young age. It's been a year now. He's ready to buy his next property. So, but getting back to the sweet spot, $450,000 if you're putting 5% down and moving into it. Once you go over that, it's very, very hard to cash flow. And then if you are putting 20% down, if you're lucky enough to have that much cash, once you get over 520, it gets a little harder to cash flow when you run the numbers. Okay, so we want to stress on that. But all day long, any areas, I know we're going to talk about areas, but what we love about properties like this is we're looking for 50-foot lots for sure, and we're making sure that the property can possibly have multiple exit strategies. So multiple exit strategies means that you could sweep this today and make it legal, sleep at night, cash flow all day long. The mortgage is getting paid down. Because it's 20 minutes to downtown, you're going to get the appreciation. We see an area like this going from 450 to 550 to 650. Now, we don't have a golden globe here or a crystal ball, sorry, to tell you when it's going to happen, but we know it's going to happen. You go to Toronto, Vancouver, Montreal, even now, 20 minutes from downtown, you're still spending $800,000-900,000. How are we so confident? What we're talking about, it's happened time and time again in Calgary. Vacancy rates downtown in the commercial spaces at an all-time low. Tim, I think it's at a really all-time low right now compared to all of those years when we got into the business. And it was already in the newspapers. And you investors out there, we teach our investors that do our program to make note of those articles in the Calgary Herald or wherever you see them, when you see head offices moving to downtown. And they're doing that because it's so cheap for them to do it, right? And Calgary is such a beautiful city that people will move here. We're predicted over the next 5 years to have over 400,000 people move to Calgary. Now that is huge. We don't even have enough space for them right now. So no matter what, just those indicators with the way oil's going, even at the current, we don't even need oil to go up even more. We're predicted to do very well. And then the population growth. And then the supply. What we're talking about tonight is supply downtown, supply in the outer areas. Someone had that question, are we better to go to new communities? I'm nervous to go to new communities, especially south and north, because those communities just keep getting bigger, like keep going and going and going. Like Tim's got the map in the office of communities that are coming on board in the next 5 to 10 years. And they're going way down near Okotoks, and they're going way up near Airdrie, and they're going way out to Chestermere. I mean, all of that land is spoken from here to Chestermere already. It's already spoken for. So with supply keep going for the next 5 to 10 years, we don't see those prices going. You're not going to get the appreciation like you would in Acadia. We could definitely tell you that much. Okay.
Okay, so moving on, as I was just talking about location, the old adage, location, 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 it's 100% true in real estate. And when we're talking about location, we're not talking about one specific neighborhood in a city, one specific area, because real estate, it's local when you look at each real estate market, but within each neighborhood, real estate is local. So, you know, you can have some neighborhoods that are a bit rough around the edges, like Ogden. Ogden has never been, you know, it's never been a high-end community, but there are portions within Ogden that, you know, little sections of the neighborhood that make great rental properties, the properties that are in there. All you have to do is find those areas within the neighborhoods, and if you want a good rental property, and it'll be a lower price to get into something like Ogden, but you'll cash flow quite a bit because people still want to live in that neighborhood because it may be close to their place of employment. They may work on the east side of town in the Foothills Industrial Park, or they may want quick access to Deerfoot Trail. So when we talk location, every neighborhood has locations within it that you want to get at. And even the really, really good locations, the great neighborhoods, the Marta Loops, you know, the Three Glens on the west side, close to Sarcee Trail, Glenmorgan, Glendale, Glenbrook, they have area or portions within them where there's some low income housing. So you don't want to buy your rental property right beside that, or right beside one of the major roads, or backing onto a major road. So within each community, you have to find the right location for your property. Now, this next slide here, this never gets old for me. This is in the community of New Brighton. We generally don't put people in New Brighton, but one thing they have with these houses is they're easy to suite the basements in some of these, because even though some of them are 2 stories, the staircase is on the side of the house, and people only have to dig halfway down to put a separate entrance to the basement down there. We've seen it done. It's not something we're going to put a lot of clients into, but if that's the only place you want to invest, then it's easy to put a legal suite in one of these. So sections of the community like this, it looks great. All these houses are backing onto this beautiful pathway, and there's a pond there. You know, it looks really idyllic. And you think, well, wow, this is a great location. It's a great place to buy a rental property. Well, if you back it out and you can see down here is that same little section of houses. Past that little piece of waterway, there's some car dealerships that are here. The picture's a little old. And then this right here is the Shepherd landfill. So you can't see it in this property, but up to the northwest over here, there's a lot of settling ponds. And if you don't know what a settling pond is, it's where the vacuum trucks dump their loads out and wait till it evaporates. So in the summertime, especially this summer where we get 30+ degrees, and if you get the breeze going the right way, you're going to get quite a stench coming right into your backyard here. So it's really hard to enjoy, your nice backyard that you've got backing onto this beautiful pathway. So when we say location, we would definitely suggest not that side of the neighborhood. Okay. And there's all kinds of areas like this around town that we really have to do our homework when we're looking for the proper rental property for people. And like as I said, we've got 12 buyers on the go that want something right now, but there's just not enough decent inventory for us to put them into.
Yeah, we're a little different. We're not going out there and hoping you guys fall in love with one. We're making sure it's going to work from day one. And getting back to Joel's question here, being near a school. Joel, funny question, because if you have a suited property, you actually don't want kids in a suited property. If you've got a standalone rental property, a single family home, and you want to be near a school, that's fine. But there is no way we want kids in an upstairs suite or a downstairs suite. It's just not going to work, especially if you have babies. So that's one of the things we teach our investors. And if you are near a school, you just don't want to be facing directly into the school or where the school buses park or where the kids come out and play every day. That's just going to turn tenants off. So it's some of these questions, they may sound easy to answer, but there's different circumstances that play towards it to give you that answer on every type of property. So we just want to stress that as well.
Yeah, so here's the map. I know it's a little hard to read, but what we were talking about is some of these blue chip neighborhoods. I was talking about Glendale, Glamorgan, Glenbrook. They're over here on the west side. The belt line would be right here where downtown is. So what we like is all of these communities that are within a 20-minute transit trip or 10-minute car ride. So sort of in a circumference like this that are that far from downtown. Because when you look at the neighborhoods that are really close to downtown, Mount Royal, Elbow Park, El Boya, Mission, things like that, you're talking multi-million-dollar homes because they are, right next to downtown and they're really, really estate neighborhoods. But when you're just outside of that, in Acadia and Haysboro and Glamorgan and on the other side, Malin Heights, which is over here up north, Huntington Hills, Brentwood, Charleswood, Dalhousie, those communities, those are the ones that you can find in that 450 to 500 range. You can put a suited property in there and you can see the cash flow numbers like our Acadia property just a few slides before. Any other neighborhoods you want to talk about, Azad?
Yeah, sure. To the north, we love Huntington Hills. We love parts of Bennington. Bennington has a real mix of properties, so you really got to watch what you're getting in there. We love Thorncliffe. Once again, in Thorncliffe right now, there's $1 million properties being built. We hammered Thorncliffe a bunch of years ago, put a whole bunch of investors in there. And guess what? Now we're in Huntington Hills because it's around low 400s, mid 400s. So what happens? And so these values just keep spilling over. So back in the day, we'd be closer to downtown. Like if you think about going down south, we're just talking about Acadia. You have Acadia, you have Fairview, you have Haysboro, and all of those areas are expensive. And as we're talking to you guys tonight, we're predicting those areas to go up over $100,000 in the next 3 to 5 years. So guess what? We're going to have to move further south of that. But the funny thing about the infrastructure or the way homes are built, the further south you go, the less say bungalows or 50-foot lots you get. Like when you go further south, like Tim, Evergreen, Bridlewood, all those areas, they're all cookie cutter homes. Okay. Now, I own cookie cutter homes. I got one in Tuscany. Minnepole's a good area because it's got different sorts of homes as well. But we try and stay on those 50-foot lots with the big bungalows, either bi-level, split levels. We try and typically stay away from two-story homes because once you get into two-story homes, the footprint to suite the basement is just too small, we find most of the time. Even if you did suite the basement, you're only going to get $750 rent for that basement suite. You may get more upstairs, so it may work out, but you normally don't get the appreciation like the 50-foot lots. We're going as far as Queensland, Deer Run, and then some of the other areas around there are just too expensive. Lake Bonavista is too expensive. Bonavista Downs used to be okay, Tim. I haven't seen the prices in there for a little while, but even that was up around the 500 range, right?
It's heading back that way as well. If you look at it, if you go on the MLS and you look at Bonavista Downs, the prices are creeping up again because everybody's going in there and renovating and putting a lot of suites in there. So you're not seeing the affordability that you used to. So we do have to stretch out to some different communities to make these properties cash flow.
Yeah, George has got a great question. Would the communities along the route of the new Green Line be good options? We had investors 2 years ago, Tim could tell you, buying in these areas, banking on that. So we've been doing it for 2 years and the prices are still good right now. I mean, you're going to do great. But once again, if you're in Ogden, there's parts of Ogden that I would be scared to walk down that street at night. So I want to be honest with you. Okay.
So this is our Green Line right here. If you can see this lovely little art that I'm doing.
Geez, that's pretty good, Tim.
So that's what your Green Line is going to do. So the neighborhoods that it's going to cut through, Ogden, Riverbend, over here, Inglewood, Ramsey, you're going to see a little bit of Douglasdale. And then probably the only other affordable neighborhood would be Mackenzie Town. The other ones are kind of estate neighborhoods, so Auburn Bay, Mahogany, things like that. So yes, you're going to get returns along the Green Line, but you have to be very, very selective.
Yeah, and just getting closer to what's the community straight over there near our old office where the Green Line's going before Inglewood. What's it called? Just behind the
East
Saddle Dome there. No,
East Village?
behind the Saddle Dome. Yeah, Ramsey. So Ramsey's a great area. I mean, you can walk to downtown, but Ramsey has these little houses that are on 25-foot lots. The houses are 100 years old. The foundations, most of those houses have dugout basements, so not even full basements. So you just can't get the rents to cover your costs. So we're taking all of these things in. I know this is a lot for the new people joining us tonight. There's a lot to consider. When people do come to us, we're looking at where they're, the best thing you could do is call Danielle, work out the financing, work out what you can qualify for, and then we work out where best to spend your money. That's our job, and where best you're going to make money. I mean, there's parts of the Northeast that we love, especially along the C train line up there. And people are like, oh, what about the Northeast? And you know what? Back in 2007, in the parts of the Northeast, we're talking Marlborough, Whitehorn, a few other areas along the C train line up there. They were selling in the 450s, 440s, and then they dropped all the way down. Now you can pick up in there for, high threes. And so we know what's going to happen. The history repeats itself. The west side of Deerfoot, any communities on the west side of Deerfoot can continue to grow. And at one stage, it was hard to find bungalows on the west side of Deerfoot for under 600K. And what that did is it drives people to the Northeast, even if they didn't want to be there. That's where the affordability was. So we'll continue to see that happen as Calgary grows here, which is very, very exciting.
Okay, one more question before we move on. Do we need to favor older builds because the quality of new houses is done with cheap materials and smaller rooms, etc.? The thing about the Calgary market is when you are out in the outskirts, that's where all the new builds are, right? In these far off neighborhoods in the north or these far off neighborhoods in the south. It's not that they're cheaper materials. It's just that the houses and the lots that they're on sort of have a single use, and that single use is like a single family home. It's hard to suite these 2 stories when they're on 40-foot lots and they're all crammed together with the the double garages out front and no back lanes, because there's really limited parking. If you go down some of these newer neighborhoods that after they're built out, you know, all along both sides of the street, there's just lineups of cars, right, parking there. And if you get tenants in one of these houses and they have 4 or 5 cars, you're going to get complaints from the neighbors because these tenants are parking in front of the other neighbors' houses. So when we're favoring the older communities, we're favoring basically the older lots, which are 50-foot lots, and they have back lanes with detached garages, a lot of them. So you have room to park, you have room to build if you want to do that. So your exit strategies change as opposed to a newer community. You just have different options with the lots that you can buy in the older neighborhoods. And, you know, they're generally closer to downtown. So you have a larger rental pool than you would if you were in the far out suburbs. Last question before we move on, Monterey Park. That's way over here on the east side. It's kind of a higher end neighborhood on the east side. It's very nice. So, you know, it would work as a rental property, but again, it's built sort of with newer, with smaller lots, like 40 feet lots instead of 50-foot lots. A lot of 2 stories. You will be able to get, you know, a rental out of there, but again, your exit strategy is basically one exit strategy to sell the property at the end. Okay. Moving on, looking for upgrades. This is one thing that, again, makes us more choosy about the properties that we're choosing for our clients. We always look for properties with some of the big ticket items that are done, whether it's the roof, the windows, the furnace, the hot water tank, some of the flooring. If you get into an older property and you have to replace all of these things, your costs can really stack up, Azad?
Yeah, so this is where we're a little different from just buying any rental property. And some rental properties, if the price is right, we don't mind if the furnace is older, but you have to get the price where it has to be. But we're always looking for some updates because we don't want our clients to go through replacing a roof or doing all this stuff. And if we did have to do it, guess what? We'd do mortgage plus improvement straight off the bat. So then they would have a perfect rental property going forward. But you really want to make sure some of these big ticket items are looked after. And what you also want to look after is that the place is updated. It's got contemporary color schemes. You know, it's got vinyl plank flooring. That's something we want to put into our rentals because it just lasts forever. You know, upgraded appliances or good looking appliances. So these little things, when we're going in, we're pointing out to our investors what works and what doesn't work, and what will make it look like a great rental.
Yeah, so if you see a furnace room like this, you're gonna have to turn around and run away. Generally, what we're looking for is something like this. This would be Azad's basement right now, I think. But you want to see some upgrades. And you could tell just by going down into the basement, seeing how they maintain their, you know, their furnace room over the years. If you see something squeaky clean like this, you know you're not going to run into problems. Finally, finding cash flowing properties is you want to look for deals. What we generally like to do is find properties that were put on the market overpriced. A lot of realtors out there will price that listing at whatever the owner thinks it's going to, just so that they have another listing in their portfolio. We watch these properties because we know they're going to drop and drop and drop. And then once they reach the right price range, you know, they've been on the market for too long, the listing's gone stale, and people aren't looking at it anymore. That's when we jump on these things. Other ways to find deals is foreclosures. Because of the lending rules have been tightened over the last 10 years, there's not a whole lot in Alberta right now, but you find them now and then. And short sales. We were doing a few short sales when the economy was in terrible shape, but now that we're kind of on the rebound and we're coming out of everything, you're not seeing a lot of short sales, but that's another way to pick up properties for a deal. Anywhere you can see where people need to sell or they have to sell, you know, you can get a deal on that property. One thing that we do caution our clients against is finding those really rundown properties to get the deal on them. Even our top renovators and flippers don't want those properties that are so run down that they're basically a tear down.
Yeah, and just quickly on that, guys, How often do these deals come around? Well, that property that Tim showcased tonight in Bowness, we just bought it 3 weeks ago for 342. We could have turned around and sold that the next day for 380. So how often do these deals come around? They do come on the market. This was just an investor that wanted to offload. We've seen it. We went to see it straight away, sold it on a FaceTime call to an investor, picked it up, and a great deal. Bruce just has a quick question about International Ave. The only thing about the Northeast is that there are areas in Calgary that there is a lot of drugs, there is prostitution, there is stuff like that going on. And we are staying a long ways away from that. Like we've got experienced investors that will go and buy in those areas, no problem at all. But for a new investor, and we know other investment groups that will take out their clients to go put them in new communities down south, or they'll take them into the Northeast. And there is no way in hell that we're doing that to our investors. We want it to be a positive experience. We want our investors actually to come out of this and make money. So we've ran the numbers, we've looked at scenarios, and we're only finding great properties in great areas for our clients.
And we feel that the East Hills development is going to benefit Chestermere a lot more than it's going to benefit Calgary. Until those new housing developments around East Hills on the east side of Stony Trail get built out. If you look at the long-term plan for that, there's a ton of residential going in around East Hills. That's probably 20 years away. It's a long, long build. But in the short term, we feel Chestermere is a better rental market for that employment center than say down International Ave and Forest Lawn, Pembroke and things like that. That's just our opinion on that. And our clients that are currently buying in Chestermere, they are making great cash flow. And it's literally 5 minutes from East Hills.
Yeah. And someone's asking about Airdrie. Airdrie, we just feel there's oversupply as well. So you really got to look at supply, so what's going on in those satellite communities. Okotoks, I was down there the other day, wrote for a young guy. I think we wrote for 700,000. This is a 2,800 square foot, practically was built a couple of years ago. Beautiful home, triple car garage. I could tell you that same property in Calgary on the west side where I live, triple car garage, 2,800 square feet. You can't get that under $1 million. And you can get that same product in Okotoks for 700. That is crazy. So I see Okotoks growing, but also there is going to be expansion there as well. Airdrie, there's already expansion and oversupply. And then Cochrane, there's going to be a lot of development down there. And you know what, I see Tim later on, I might be wrong, but it might be 20, 40 years down the road. I don't know how long it will be, but they will just be, extensions of Calgary one day, maybe those satellite communities or close to it.
Yeah, that'll happen. So the final thing we're going to talk about finding cash flowing properties is getting the right interest rate and managing your interest rate risk. And what I mean by that is you have to constantly pay attention to what the interest or what the mortgage market is doing, what kind of rate you have now, what your payment is now, and if refinancing can benefit you. We were just listing a property rate with some clients this afternoon. Well, I was, Azad was probably drinking beer by the lake, but we were taking some pictures and taking some measurements of this house. And these clients have another rental property in the community of Canyon Meadows. And what they had done is before they met us, they went and they got their place in Canyon Meadows refinanced. And what they didn't know is they had it stretched out to get a better payment, but their interest rate was terrible. They had it refinanced right in the middle of these great rates coming along. So we sent them to Danielle, and Danielle's going to refinance them again. And this is only a year after what they had done. They're going to have a big payout penalty, but in the long run, they're going to save a heck of a lot more money by paying less interest than that payout penalty they're going to pay right now. So you have to understand every property that you have, what your payment is. Is it the best payment you can get? Is it the best payment for your portfolio? Now, that being said, it's not always best to just go with the lowest rate. sometimes you need to go with a mortgage product that will help you buy your next property. And that really is having a conversation with Danielle. She can guide you in that right direction. You may have a payment that's, a tiny bit higher than the best rate you can see out there, but that mortgage product that's on your property is on there, but it will allow you to buy another property sooner than if you just went with the best rate, from the big banks. So have a conversation with your mortgage broker, every 6 months, every year, just to make sure that you have the right mortgage on each property and, your interest rates are at the right rates. One thing about interest rates, I've shown this slide before. If we look at where rates are now, I think the prime rate is 0.25. That's what the Bank of Canada is charging. We haven't been this low, since that little brief period after the financial crash in 2008. So what we're seeing is these historically low interest rates. And what you're going to hear in the press all the time is they're going to constantly say, oh, rates are going to rise, rates are going to rise, rates are going to rise. Well, they will rise, but you can see what happened last time is they rose along this little staircase here, but they were still under 2%. So it might be percentage-wise a massive increase, but when you're under 2% on a mortgage, and we've been under 2% since 2009. So for over 10 years now, we've had really, really, really low interest rates. And, we might see another blip like this up to 1.5%, maybe even 2% over the next 5 years. But if you look at our next slide, it's unsustainable to see rates go up to the way they were in the early 90s. Those high 12, 13, 14, and people will tell you horror stories about, oh, I had a mortgage at 18%. Our government has been spending so much money in the last 10 years. You can see since 2010. This year, after 2021, you're going to see our federal debt has basically doubled in 10 years. If rates went sky high, our government wouldn't even be able to afford to pay the interest payments on that. And that would be the same thing for 90% of the mortgage holders out there. If mortgage rates went up to that 10% again, everyone would lose their house. So we're not going to see that happen. The governments will bring in policies to keep them low. But it's a big part of what you have to do to understand your cash flow position and to make sure you're in the best cash flow position is make sure you understand those interest rates and what mortgage package you have on each one of your properties. So that's about all we have to say on how to buy cash flowing properties. We can go on and on and on and talk about all the different property types. If you really want to get into it, if you want to see where your portfolio is, if you're ready to buy another property, just drop us a line, give us an email or a text or a phone call. We'd be happy to discuss what your next steps are.
Yeah, so if you haven't read 1 Million Reasons to Buy Real Estate, it's a free ebook. You can download it at www.calgaryrealestatewealth.com. That's our website. If you came to us from Meetup, you can find our website on Meetup as well. It's a great book. It gives you the fundamentals of investing in real estate, and you can work out if it's for you. As we said, it's not for everybody, but it's a great read. We hope you like it, so download that. And we'll go to the next slide here, Tim. If you are interested in taking your real estate a little bit further, this book is for sale on our website. It's roughly 20 bucks Canadian. I think it's on there for 17 US because it's sold in the US as well. Fun story. It's not about Tim and I, it's about our clients over the years. We've got stories from young people to old people succeeding at real estate investing, and it will teach you what it's all about. The difference between this book and a book that changed my life, Rich Dad Poor Dad. Rich Dad Poor Dad was a great book, but it really didn't give you any information on how to move forward. This book gives you all the tips and tricks what our investors are doing today. And the next slide, I'm sure it's going to go over our investment program. We don't push this on anybody. It is $1,000 or $100 a month. And this will give you everything you need, every investment strategy there is without the BS. It will show you how to create $1 million worth of equity from your real estate going forward. And we only take on people that can actually pull it off and that want to put the work into it to move themselves forward and to enjoy the life like we should. Real estate's changed our life. It's currently changing the lives of many of our clients, and it could change yours too. We know that for a fact.
And when you do buy a property with us, you get your pictures with a thumbs up in front of your house, just like all those people on the book. So, like I said before, just drop us a line. The market in Calgary, well, you'll hear the press that it's, going up in leaps and bounds. It hasn't increased a huge amount price-wise, so it's still very, very affordable to get into. So what we're anticipating is the market, we're at the bottom and we're starting on that curve on the way up, and we're seeing, different types of companies move in downtown, tech companies and that. Oil companies are starting to loosen the purse strings, and they're starting to spend some more. So, for Alberta as a whole, we're going to see some good times ahead, and, to buy property and take advantage of it. That's what we're all about right here. So give us a call if you need to make a move forward.
Yeah, hope everyone enjoyed it. Enjoy the rest of the summer. First time coming to you from Ontario, and Tim and I will be back together in a couple of weeks here in Calgary. And for the people out there that I know are on the call waiting for us to find them properties, we are looking, even though I'm at the lake. We will find you one soon. Please be patient. You are making a huge investment decision, and we definitely want to get it right for you. So I hope everyone enjoyed tonight, and tell your friends about us. We're trying to get to 5,000 members. We're not far off, and we look forward to hearing from you soon and seeing you in 2 weeks.
Yeah, thanks for joining, everybody.